Even Bible people figure everything, the words you can see in the book, you get that. They got the itching.
So, is this big enough? It's big enough?
It's something like that. The Hebrew and English.
Yeah, this is Hebrew and English, not King James.
What is it, 12?
Yeah, no, this is just Leviticus.
Okay.
$27.
Yeah, well, I figure for mine going probably take about 27 to 30.
The Torah is in here. That's complete. The whole 5 books. You see, it's about $50. It's about $50 for it. And it's in the camp pack.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, it has a first. It has 5 books in it. That's $50.
Amagwa, Panyawa, Jerusalem. Stand and face Jerusalem. Blessing of the Sabbath. Barakatha Yahweh, Basham, Yahweh Shai, Asherai, Nathan Lanawa, Hashabak, Bashalawam, the water, Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the Sabbath and peace. Thank you, so be it. The Alim Ma'asharai Machad, Psalms 121. Anya Harayam Mayim Oh Harim Mayan Yabawa Zarya Yabawa Mayahawa Shashab Shemayim Waratazar La Yanawam Select. Yanathan Lamawat Ragalia Yala Yanawam Shashua Marka Hana La Yanawam Wala Yashan Shashua Mar Yashrale Yahweh Shamaria Yahweh Tazalit Ayo Yad Yem Yad Yawamam Hashemash La Hakaya Wayarak La Balayala Yahweh Yashamaria Makal Rai Yashamar Napashya Yahweh Yashamar Hawalakya Wabawayah My third wa I will Basham Yehoshai the water Amen.
Psalms 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Shema Yasharallah, hear, O Israel. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad.
Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thapala Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Abiyanawe Shabbat Shemayim Kodash Hayya Shanka Yahweh Malakwavka Saba Ratazawanka Hayya Aisha Baratza Kabashemayim Latamanawa Lacham Yawam Zad Wasalaklanawa Kabawafnawa Kasalak Nawa, Kabawaf, Yanawa, Wala Abiyanawa, oh, Nasayawan, Abo, Hawashinawa, Marai, Kayed, Laka, Hamalakwa, Wa Allah, Wathaparat, Waiwalam, Aman.
Matthew 6:9. After this manner therefore pray, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Amen. Ha'aishara Matazawaf, the Ten Commandments. La'at, Yahayat, Lakat, Alahayim, Lacharim, Alpanyat, La'at, Taishat, Lakat, Paso, Wala'at, Thaibadam, La'at, Talakwaka, Shamwat, Yahweh, Alahayakat, Takhamat, Ko, Asherat, Lara'ayakat, Amen.
Exodus
You are Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Barakatha Yahweh. You guys with me?
Okay.
Barakatha Yahweh. Haggadah. Rakawam. Rabiyah. Wanawa'eh. Al-Yawan. Malak. Shao Shamayim, Waratiza, Wako, Dabarim, Kayayam, Wagam, Hamashiach, Mayahawe, Rawanawe, Habnawe, Hapalai, Yawaitiza, Yahawashai, Zakarnawe, Yahaweh, Bartazawan, Ainka, Yash'awe, Izarnawe, Banai, what's up? Yash'awe, oh, Nanawe, Yam Yan, Aita, Kayawam Yam, Makwadam, Babakushai, Shalak, Mike Ale, Watazawadak, Alahayim, La, Maganawe, Rabharnawe, Washama, Alnawe, Bakur, Shalak, Haroka, Shao, Yahawashai, Lanawe, Lalamadnawe, Rabiam, Kakame, Tabawane, Wada Ait, Shao, the Barka, Basham, Yahawashai, the Wada, Thum Yed, Waiwalam, Maman. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth and all things living, and also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably, your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel, most high, we beg you, right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahweh Shai to us to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, always and forever, so be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherat, Letan Lanawa, Hathawarat. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us light to see. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherat, Letan Lanawa, Awar, Lara Awat. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the ram's horn to call the people. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherat, Letan Lanawa, Koran, Ha'ayot, La Korah, Ha'aim. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the olive oil to anoint Israel. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherat, Letan Lanawa, Hasheman, Zayef, Lamashak, Yasha'ala, Yeshabwa. Be seated.
Started already, right?
So Shalom, Yasharala.
Shalom.
Shalom, everybody here in the Philly school. Shalom, everybody listening to us on live stream, and shalom, everybody listening to us on teleconference, watching us on live stream. Hey, watching and listening, why not? So, welcome to Hayashra Al Kanas for the Congregation of Israel. Baba Kasha, could you hand me my Bible on that back table? Wow. We teach that the so-called Black, Latin, and Native Americans are indeed the true tribes of Israel, the true 12 tribes of Israel, once lost, now found. And that we've fallen into a lower state politically, economically, even religiously, because we broke the laws of God, found a Bible given to us by Moses. And if we come out as lower state, that we fall into turning back to commandments. Sorry for folks that are watching on the live stream. For some reason, it's going in and out this morning. Hopefully, it'll stop. I don't think it's anything on our side. I think our connection is strong here. But either way, First Maccabees chapter 1 in the Apocrypha is where we're going to start. But something we want to check out, well, I wanted to go into first before we go into this, and I'll read through it swiftly, is that it was prophesied, these events that we're reading about here, as far as the rise and fall of empires, notwithstanding the rise and fall of the Greek Empire, right? Which First Maccabees chapter 1 is going to go into. What we'll do, I'll read it in Daniel first, and then we'll come here to First Maccabees. So you could definitely read the whole chapter and then do parallels between what happened in history and what we see in scriptures with the prophecy that Daniel's going to reveal. So keep in mind, Daniel the prophet, he lived during the Babylonian Empire and part of the Persian Empire. He gave this prophecy, decades, even over a century before these events took place. Just like we're reading last time in Revelation, how the prophets during that time, John, he was seeing visions of things that just happened a couple decades ago, right? But describing it in vivid detail of things that would take place. So Daniel did the same thing for things we're going through right now, and even things that hadn't happened yet in his time, but is now our past, like the Greeks coming to power. So Daniel chapter 8, that's the key chapter you want to go to read about that when it comes to the rise of the Greeks and how they rose up above the empire that did dominate before them in the earth, which was the Medo-Persian Empire, or the Persians and the Medes. So whole First Maccabees 1, let's go to Daniel 8 and go through that. And then we'll come back to First Maccabees 1. So just say come once you have Daniel chapter 8, verse 1.
In Daniel chapter 8.
Mm-hmm. We're going to read in Daniel chapter 8. It's going to be a vision that Daniel had through the Spirit. It's going to talk about the events we're going to read in First Maccabees.
Daniel chapter 1, verse 8.
Chapter 8, verse 1. Does everybody have it?
Right.
Okay.
Good.
So Daniel chapter 8 and verse 1, it reads, in the third year of the reign of King Belshazzar, you go into this particular king, he was the last king before the Persians and Medes became the dominant empire, right? He was the son of Nebuchadnezzar, right? Who were the Babylonian kings, right? A vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which was appeared unto me at the first. Because remember, Daniel saw many visions. Verse 2, and I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was in Shushan, in the palace. Remember, Shushan we read about is what? That's the capital city of the Medo-Persians. So it's not to say they didn't exist. They just weren't the dominant empire as of yet. Right? Oftentimes, the next empire that would take the position is already there. It's just what a certain conflict or battle has to happen before the top power shifts. So they were there too. It says that I was in Shushan, the palace, also too, when we read in the book of Esther, right? With Esther and Mordecai, they were in Shushan during the time when the Persians were the dominant power, right? It says, which is in the province of Elam, so she the Elamites, so we call East Indians today, right? And the different peoples that are in that, surrounding area like Pakistan and Bengali and Bengal and etc. They would be of the nation of Elam, right? So this was their empire. I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, so now he's by a river having a vision, similar to when Ezekiel, who was his contemporary, he had a vision by a different river, right? I think it was Chebar. And he had the vision of the angels with the four faces. It says in verse 3, then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had two horns. And the two horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. Right? So he's seen a vision of this ram with two horns. One's higher than the other, but then they're going through this motion where the one that becomes higher, and later on it comes up higher. All this has meaning, as is going to be given him as you read on. I saw the ram, verse 4, I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward. That has meaning too. So that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will and became great. So as we see in other visions, the Most High will use beasts or animals to signify what? Men and the nations that they establish, right? And how suiting, right? Because the Most High looks at us as beasts if we're not walking his commandments, right? If we're not ruling according to his truth. It says, and as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west earth. So now this he-goat is significant as it pertains to the history we're going to read in First Maccabees. And touched not the ground. There's purpose behind that too, why the he-goat is running, and he says he's not touching the ground. It says, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes, right? Remember that as you read on. Verse 6, and he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram. And he was moved with choler against him. Choler here in the context just means anger. And smote the ram and brake his two horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. So as we read this story, just kind of in your mind's eye, visualize the best you can this image that Daniel is seeing, right? Verse 8, therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, a great horn, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven, right? Talk about the 4 winds, just referring to north, south, east, and west, right? Just like you have the major trade winds. Now, that's significant too, as we're going to read, we're going to see that as well. And see it actually played out as history when we read in the Maccabees. But right now, it's still a future prophecy. It hasn't come to pass yet during Daniel's time. It says in verse 9, and out of the one of them came forth a little horn, exceeding great, toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land. So now out of these 4 notable ones, it says that what? A little horn came out of these 2 and expanded in these directions. It says, and toward the pleasant land, Israel. Like it says, you read on, we'll get the meaning behind that too. Verse 10, and it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the hosts and the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. So in this vision, he sees what? This notable horn is going up into heaven and casting down some of the stars that be in heaven, right? Mm-hmm. And we know not literally talking about the stars in the sky, but we know pertaining to something else. Just like we read in Revelation, talking about nations and those that be in power within a different nation. The Most High will use physical things that we see all the time to convey an image talking about something else, or convey meaning talking about something else. It says, and stamped on them, verse 11, yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, so even to the prince of this host of heaven. And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, that's important, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Right? Verse 12, and an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Right? So this vision has a lot of history in it. Right? As we're going to read about it as we go through the first Maccabees is going to events taking place as they happen. At this point, Daniel's getting a vision of, because we know the Most High, he's the author, right? He's got the whole play written down, what we call history in future prophecy. Exactly. Verse 13, then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint, which spake, how long shall the vision concern the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? So now these saints in this vision that Daniel's still seeing, they're asking how long or what duration will this be as far as the daily sacrifice being taken away, right? Going into, as we're going to read, the temple, and within the temple, the altar where the sacrifice was done. Verse 14, he said unto me, unto 2,300 days, sanctuary be cleansed. It's not giving a certain time frame for what? The sanctuary be cast down and then for it to be eventually cleansed. So there's hope here that we know even if though it's going to be cast down, there's going to be time for what? For it to be cleansed. It's not just going to be utterly cast down. So now let's read on. It's going to give us some understanding behind the vision that we saw. Verse 15, and it came to pass when I, even I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. Right? So this angelic being, Gabriel, which we know is a top angel, right? One of the 7 that are named, right? So he's calling out to Gabriel to say, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. Verse 17, so he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face naturally, right? Because it's an angelic force. You just don't get visited by them all the time, and when they manifest themselves, right? We know that they're around us. But to actually have one come before you must be a sight to behold, especially having knowledge as Daniel did of the Most High and his terrible power. But he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. With me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright. Right? So Daniel went to sleep, but then he raised him up, right? Woke him up and got him to stand upright. And he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation. Right? The end shall be. Verse 20. So now the angel's going to give Daniel a sense behind what he was shown, right? Because these visions took a lot, right? Just to be presented it and just to take it all in. It could be overwhelming. But now he's going to give him the sense on those images he saw with the animals and what they did and their horns and all that. He's going to tell him what this means. Verse 20. The ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. See that? So this ram represents the Persian and Mede Empire, right? Remember, there were two different nations. One was of Japheth, the other one was of Shem through Elam, as far as their dominant rulers, and that they just ruled together as one empire, kind of like two empires in one. Verse 21, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia. See that? It's that rough he-goat we read about that represents the king of Grecia, which we're going to read about in 1 Maccabees, which is Alexander.
Say it again.
The king of Grecia, which is just Greece. Hence Alexander the Greek.
The rough goat was the king of Greece. Right.
You see it?
Yeah. But that's just a symbol or what?
Yeah, that's what we're saying. It's a vision, but it's talking about something else.
Oh, okay.
All the things that Daniel was shown in this vision, the angels now give them a sense on what these different things mean.
I'm bringing it out here to
Right, just like we did in Revelations before, remember?
mm-hmm.
It says, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn between, rather that is between his eyes is the first king, which is talking about Alexander specifically.
Okay.
Now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. Right? So going into 4 of his particular generals would then take the reins after him, which we're also going to read in Maccabees. Right? And they would all take over a certain portion of land from what they conquered when they were all together. It says, and in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding, dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice and shall destroy the mighty and the holy. This is also going to be depicted in 1 Maccabees 1 as far as the rise of a particular root that came out of the Greeks named Antiochus Epiphanes. Right? We're going to touch on him too. And what he would do against our people. We're going to read it in Maccabees. It says, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper by his hand. He shall magnify himself in his heart. So the pride of his heart is going to deceive him, right? He's going to be lifted up. Shall destroy many. See that? They shall say peace, peace. Let's sit down, let's parlay. But then the minute that peace is established, then war is going to be ensued or taken forth. So we know that's one of their calling cards when they battle back then and now, right? So we can't trust them. And he shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand, right? That comes to pass later as you read on the Maccabees too. And the vision of the evening and the morning, which was told is true, wherefore shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days. So from Daniel's time, it's not going to be until what? Many days until this is actually going to happen. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days afterward I rose up and did the king's business. And I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. Right? So it took a lot out of him to get that vision. And you see, he even got ill afterwards, but he got better and then went back to work. But quite a thing he was being shown, right? And to not really see it come to pass is really hard for us to really say, yeah, this means this means that. But as it's happening, and after it happens, you can go back to the vision and go, oh, okay, this is what it was. This is what the Most High was trying to tell us. He already knew. Now we're actually seeing it come to pass, right? So now let's jump forward now to First Maccabees, since that's our reading for today. I just want to touch on Daniel 8th chapter because the events of what Daniel has shown are very significant for what we're going through in First Maccabees, as we'll see. So now this is First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. So before we start, if you don't know already, my name is Nabia Zerubbabel. I'm doing our service for today, since we're beginning. First Maccabees, just the first chapter. This is a long one. Write down for your notes that today is the 27th of May, 2017. The third month day calendar. That's pretty easy to tell, right? Because we just kept the new moon Wednesday night, right? So that means when the sun set Thursday, we were in the second day. And when the sun set Friday, we're in the third day. Since we're still on that day, it won't be the fourth day until the sun goes down. So First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. It's the second to last book in the Apocrypha as you look for it. So First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1, just say come once you have it. Okay. So First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 1, it reads, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, who came out of the land of Chetam, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. So now when they're writing this is in their past. But this was Daniel's future, right? That's why we read Daniel chapter 8 first. Exactly. So he saw the ram with the horns and the goat stomp it out. That's what we're reading here. And this is that horn that was on that goat, that notable horn, the first king. That's who Alexander is. Verse 2, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth. Verse 3, to the end of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. See that there? So we talked about the goat coming from the west. So remember that's considered the west, because anything west of Israel will be considered the west, like parts of Europe. Because Chetam, you look on the map, Chetam is where we call Italy today. Chetam was one of the descendants of Japheth who populated that region first. Because we know since history after the flood, nations have moved around to different places, right? You know, where you once had Elam, now you may have Ishmael. Or where you once had Japheth, now you may have Esau, etc. and so forth. So the nations move around over history. Even look here in the United States, right? In the Americas. Right? Look who was here before. Now look at all the people who are here now. When they refer to certain lands or certain nations, oftentimes they're referring to the nation that was there first, right? Or where that's their inheritance. But the prophecy needs to be taken in context with the time frame that you can say, oh, okay, it's talking about something that's happening there, not necessarily with that nation, but something that's going to happen there, but at a later date. So make sure we're cognizant with that when we read. But when we understand the maps and where people started off at, it can be very simple. Oh, okay, I see. This is the region of this nation. This is where they belong. It's talking about later prophecy. Now we can go into history and pinpoint certain things and connect the dots. So blessed be the Most High, and blessed be His Son, blessed be His Holy Spirit for allowing us to, right? That our eyes may be no more darkened, but enlightened. So it says in verse 4, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. So they paid him like an offering or a tax, if you will, right? Acknowledging his authority. After these things, he felt sick and perceived that he should die. He's fallen sick. When you read the years around when these things happen, you can just make a note for chapter 1, verse 1. That was around 333 BC when Alexander first came on the scene and began to conquer. At one time when he became sick and got ready to die, it's 323 BC. So you can just make a note of those years if you don't know already. So 333 to 323 BC. Reign and death of Alexander. I guess BCE, right? They say now BCE, before the Common Era. We're still based on when Christ was born, so it's kind of funny. I want to get away from before Christ. Mm-hmm. So reading on in verse 6.
Even the world how it is, it dates around Christ's birth. That the year starts again. They may try to deny it, but it's still, Christ. Before Christ, or after Christ,
Absolutely. And it ties into the grand time frame of the days of creation up until now, right? Like we go into on the priest test, where we show every 1,000 years you have a significant figure born or something that happens, right? Where we go back in time to Adam, he was around 4,000 BC. We'll say the 6,000th year of creation, as each day is 1,000 years to the Lord. Then from the time of Adam to Noah, 1,000 years, 3,000 BC. Noah to Abraham, 1,000 years, he was around 2,000. Then from Abraham to David, 1,000 BC. David to Christ, another 1,000. And then from Christ till now, it's been around 2,000 years. And now we're at that time where we're in the 12,000 years since creation began. We're in that between that 12,000 and 13,000 year creation time frame now. And we look forward to what Christ will take over and reign when he makes his second coming. That time we just won't know when. But once he does, it tells you that he'll reign for 1,000 years. That's another 1,000-year time frame that still has yet to come to pass. This is just the timeline that the Most High revealed to us. As far as what comes after or before, we just don't know. But that alone is enough to be meditated on and considered. So back in First Maccabees chapter 1, I'll read verse 6 after it says that he should die. Alexander became sick. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So this is the 4 notable ones that came up afterwards. You read about in Daniel chapter 8, right? So see how the history perfectly aligns with the prophecy, because it's the Most High's will in the end, right? Everything that happens is the Most High's will. Whether men choose the right or wrong thing, it doesn't matter. It's all in the hand of the Lord. He controls it all. Mm-hmm. It says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. Before we read on in verse 9, let me just switch the desktop real quick. so you guys can see. You just go on Google, whatever search engine you prefer, get a picture of the land that he reigned over and then what he handed over to others. So I'm gonna do a screen share real quick. There you go.
Any verses to go with this now,
Daniel chapter 8. I might want to see what they see. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Just want to share the window by itself. Okay. So now, if you look here, there's a couple maps here that you can see. This one here shows us the Hellenistic world, 300 BC. So after he died, these were his 4 top generals, right? We had Ptolemy down here who ruled in Egypt. We had Seleucus who ruled up here in Asia Minor and Syria. We had Cassander who ruled over in Italy. We had Lysimachus who ruled this region up here, which is by what we call above Turkey, right? I think even here it has a description.
Oh, yeah. Why they say before service? That's from the generals
Mm-hmm.
after he died.
Right.
So that's like in $10 words. Read.
I'm getting the issue people can't see.
But before serving, this represents the 4 generals, right?
Okay, so we're having some issues here, so I'm just going to share my entire screen like I did before. Let me try it now. I think someone said they can't see. So let's try it this way. Okay, so here we go. So now you can see as I'm sharing the screen, this is the map I'm talking about as far as Seleucus, Ptolemy, Cassander, and Lysimachus, an example of one. Here's another one here. It shows those same divisions and how it was split up between them. Now, the one that we're going to go into in particular, a man who came out of the Seleucus dynasty, right? What they would call the Seleucids, the water system. So we're going to go into this empire, which was part of the region that Alexander and his men conquered, right? And it's funny because even during the time of the Roman Empire, and I think even now today, there's the city still there named after him called Antioch. Like, and so there's a lot of so-called Christian churches that are called, Antioch Baptist Church or Antioch this, Antioch that. Named it that city in the Roman Empire, which actually was named after the Greek city, which was named after this man Antioch. Just like Alexandria was what? A chief place of commerce in the Roman Empire, named after who? Alexander. But it was a Roman city because the Romans took over afterwards. Think of it like how here in America, right? We have a lot of cities that are named after older empires, right? Older Edomite empires, named after British cities or French cities, right? They just put a new in the front, right? Right? Instead of Orleans, now it's New Orleans. Instead of York or Yorkshire, now it's New York, right? Et cetera and so forth. Okay, so let's go back to take the screen share off. Yeah, if you just put in the search that I did was just Alexander the Great Empire after death, and you'll get plenty of pictures, so you can have an idea of what it looks like. So let's go back to a regular screen. Okay, good. So now let's read on. First Maccabees chapter 1 in verse 9. it says, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, right? Referring to those 4 generals we saw on that map, right? Ptolemy, Seleucus, Cassander, and Lysimachus. So did their sons after them many years. So they had sons and daughters who had sons and daughters to continue on that family line, that family name. It says, and evils were multiplied in the earth. See that? So with the reign of the Greeks, it says that evils became multiplied in the earth. So with 1 and 9, it's important that we understand. Go to Proverbs. Check out what Solomon said. Proverbs chapter 29 in verse 2. Proverbs 29 and 2, and I'll read this one.
Proverbs 29.
In verse 2. So Proverbs 29 and 2, it reads, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. See that? So it's a direct effect when it comes to men or women who are in authority over a certain region or land or people or both, that whatever they do, not so much what they show the people that they do, but whatever they do, their actual real lifestyle, it's going to be a reflection on what? Their government.
On the people.
And on the people that depend on that government, right? Or that are part of that government.
Yeah, so they're supposed to be the symbols, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it always comes out. It'll come out through the sons and daughters of those rulers, right. Even the people themselves. There'll be a direct reflection of the way they came to power and the way that they rule. Like I said, not the way they present themselves. Right? People get confused about here in America because America presents itself one way, right, as being peaceful, but then what it actually does behind closed doors, right, is something different.
That's unknown.
And then they want to be hypocritical when their subjects or people that they rule over try to establish themselves the same way, right? They want to wave the finger and tell them violence isn't the way when all America is known as violence, right? So this is like rulership 101, right?
No, yeah, we don't actually come out with that, right?
Their own people expose them in many cases, doing documentaries, writing books, getting papers, and putting them out there online for people to read. So yeah.
And that's what the purpose of the, like online, when you see different people online, but you might see somebody in your family online, but you might haven't seen in a long time. They shows all that, don't it?
Why are you bringing this up? I'm just curious.
The reason why I brought it up because my nephew, he seen his daughter online, trying to get herself together now because she's calling him all the time, home, So, but he told me he's seen her online, and also he's seen his grandkids because he hadn't seen them in a long time. He said they're all doing pretty well, So in a way, the line is good, and the way is bad,
It's just a medium. It's going to be a medium for whatever you say or do, whether it's righteous or evil.
Right.
For someone to say, "Oh, internet is evil," no, it's the people. Like saying, I always use the simple example of an axe, right? An axe is an axe. A man can use it to chop down trees, right, that don't grow fruit, like the law says, and make a house, right, for his family, right, or for the community. Or we can take that same axe and lie in wait and kill his brother with God.
Right.
The axe isn't evil or good.
It's not the act, it's the person.
Exactly. Like they say today, guns don't kill people, people kill people, right?
Right.
They make it about guns, right?
Terminology as saying that that the gun gonna do it itself, but it's not. It's the individual that picked up the gun and and use it for bad, for evil.
Yep. So if we could, let's read verse 12 as well. But quite, if you could read that, Bokasha, in the same chapter of Proverbs. Read verse 12.
You want to read that?
But quite, I said.
Oh, wow.
So in the same chapter of Proverbs 29, we'll read verse 12. 1-2 as well. After this, and then we'll go back to First Maccabees.
Okay.
Proverbs 29 and verse 12. If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked.
Come. So if a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked. That's pretty straightforward. Right? So the ruler, if he's hearkening unto lies, whether it's him lying or someone lying to him and he believes it, and it makes decisions based on those lies, all those that report to this are wicked by default, because they're falling right in line, hook, line, and sinker with that ruler's agenda. Right? That prime minister, that CEO, that whoever, doesn't matter. Community organizer, doesn't matter. That's why it's so important, and the Most High held us so accountable to say, your kings and your priests must be on point. Otherwise, there's not going to be a lot of time going by before I'm going to have you go into captivity. Whereas with the other nations, he'll let them get to the height of their evil and then just bring them down extra hard, because he's not dealing with them. He's dealing with us. He wants to make sure that we learn the lesson of what it means to be a ruler, and that we rule righteously and understand why that's so important. I think we have a lot of history to learn from at this point, to where we can go forward. We can say, yeah, we see why it's so important for us to rule according to the commandments, so that when the Most High does give us the kingdom, and those that Christ has chosen for, he's chosen for Christ to rule with, we can look back and go, yeah, this is why it's so important, and then rule the right way going forward.
And also in reference to Proverbs 29 and 12, if a ruler hearkens to lies, all his servants are, wicked. It's also, when you look at the world, the people in the world are confused because even their rulers not telling them the truth. And nor they're not telling the truth about the lie that they uphold. They uphold the lie to be the truth. When people, focus on what they got to do, and what they got to do is lies, the end result is gonna be, because that's what the world does. The world perpetrated, a lie to be a truth, and it cannot stand. Messiah give us a straightforward truth, because he gave us his purpose and his vision for us. Right? And he doesn't lie, and what he says is this is exactly what it is. If you follow it, then here's the result you're gonna get.
That's what we did.
Absolutely. So if you could, Pathat, read Ecclesiastes, I see your hand, Yalkanan. Read Ecclesiasticus, chapter 10 and verse 2. Chapter 10 and verse 2 on this same topic.
Which one is this? The Apocrypha?
Yeah, it's a common thing now. You hear, especially now. I'm listening to folks, where I work at, just talking, and it's just like, government comes up they say, you know, don't talk about politics or religion, but people are talking about it on the workplace anyway. You know, and it's just like, yeah, I don't. People, you hear people just saying like commonplace. I don't trust government like that. It's like a normal thing to not trust government or trust that government's going to do anything for you. You got to do it for yourself. Any program that they may create, it's not going to benefit you, or if it is, it's going to cost more than what you can afford. That's like a general attitude.
And also when we look at what we just read in Daniel, the vision, the Most High give us the vision and in a certain way. And then he turns around, give us the interpretation of the vision. But the world, they give you something, but they don't give you the specifics behind it. Figure it out. That's the difference between the world and the Most High.
It's something that's implicit. It's not explicit, but you drew out the implicitness about that. Many things in the scriptures are not necessarily directly said. We have to, like you did, read it and consider it and go, how can this benefit my day to day? And how can this benefit us on a day to day? You know, what we're seeing here, or what the Most High is not saying directly, what he's implying. That's good. Ecclesiasticus chapter 10 and verse 2.
Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 2, it speaks. The people is himself so are the officers, and what manner of man does the ruler of the city is. Such are all they that dwell therein.
Right. So as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And whatever manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. So it's pretty much saying what we just read in Proverbs. It's the same idea. You're not going to be able to escape that. Remember, we talk about too what makes a nation, right? A nation is made up of many communities. Communities are made up of many families, right? So you can bring this same model all the way down to the household, right? Where we live, right? Where the ideal is what? Having a husband and wife with kids, right? And that's your family unit. Right. So now when it comes to parents raising their kids, it's the same thing. They're going to do what you do, not what you tell them to do.
Follow right behind you.
They're going to do what you do first. It'll even come out if things you think you're doing that they don't even notice or they don't see. You'll see them even emulate that, and you'll go, "Oh my God, I didn't even show them this. I just showed them this." But now they're going to do even your wickedness. So this is why it's so important for you to do the right thing, or try your best to do the right thing, whether they see you or not. Right? Because oftentimes it'll come out in the end, and they'll say, and then you'll be telling them something that they're doing that's wrong that you did, and looking right back at you going, "Well, Dad, Mom, how can you tell me this? You did it. How are you going to tell me not to do it? You did this when you were young. And now you just got to put your foot in your mouth." So yeah, you take this wisdom and apply it even to the family unit. Because remember, families make up a community. Communities make up a nation. So the family unit should be like a microcosm of. And I think we even talked about this. We read in Esther with the whole thing about the king and Vashti, right? Where he asked her to do something, she didn't do it. And the men even perceived that. They said, "Oh, if this becomes a thing where it's just like, okay, the wife doesn't show reverence to the husband, right? And them being a very, public image, him being like the example for the nation, this is going to follow suit. It's going to spread throughout the entire country. So that's why it's so important for, from those that be in power on that level, for those that be in power in the community, those that be in power even within the household, that they do or they function righteously, and they say and do that which is right. See it and go, "Oh, this is what we're supposed to follow. This is the model we're supposed to uphold." Right? You won't have that conflict. But it's tough because even for us, because we're still learning, certain things we may have grown up learning were right, but it was mixed with things that were wrong. So to weed those things that can be troublesome, even for those of us who have been called into this truth. We're still trying to make sense of things, right? But the minute we learn, the idea is to put our best foot forward, to try to do the right thing going forward, so that if we do, or we are blessed with children in this setup, they have more spiritually than we had growing up. And then just keep that pattern going until we get right. So I think y'all come on and then what?
Yeah, when you talk about the king and stuff like that, into lies and things like that. This is what the Most High said. Deuteronomy 17. Deuteronomy 17 and 18 says, "And it shall be that when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book, which is before the priest, the Levite." Verse 19, "And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes, to do them."
Come. Absolutely.
But it's like you were bringing out, and like our parents mean well, but most of what they want to see for us is to see us go to school and get a job, and that's their vision. That's their plan and vision for us. But it goes beyond that. When we read in Matthew 6 and 25, the Most High said not to worry about these things too much. What you shall put on and clothes. But our parents, that's what they have on. They want to make sure that you have a family, you have clothes on your back, which is good. But the big vision that the Most High has for us, he doesn't want us to focus too much on these things, because our life is worth more than these things.
Okay. Excellent point.
So that's why also when you look at it, the Most High's plans for us become vision. That's why he show us, he show us the plan within the vision. He tells us the vision, and he tells us the specific what's going to happen, this, that, and the third, this, that, and the third. Then he bless you with discernment to understand the plan. Whereas in the world, but it's secret. You got to go to the Illuminati, whatever. You got to go to the Masonry, still to try to find out the secret plan that they have. What's the vision, and he gives you the plan, and he gives you the discernment to understand what's in the plan, so that you're not confused.
Right.
Come. Absolutely. Come to our points. So we'll just read 10 and 2. That was Deuteronomy 17, 18, and 19 as well.
Right.
And all that links with 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 9. Chapter 1 and verse 9. Which just goes into the Greeks.
Can you repeat those last couple of verses of Deuteronomy? Because the background is low. I couldn't hear it.
Got you. And I can just try to make sure you project your voice, or just come a little closer up here, and your voice can be picked up if you have something to say. Deuteronomy 17, verses 18 and 19.
Come.
You got Ecclesiasticus 10 and 2.
Come.
You got Proverbs 29, verses 2 and verses 12.
Come.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. Ecclesiasticus, that's in the Apocrypha, right?
Yep.
Come. Okay. But yeah, I'm not on my regular. I'm not on my regular phone. I'm on like my cell phone. So I plugged up with my headphones. So don't be no destruction, or don't be my in the classroom. So I have it on mute.
Okay. Yeah, just you or anyone else, just text me, or if we go out, you can't see us, or you need something repeated, just let us know. Myself or Quad, any of the brothers, just text them so that we can be aware. If something you're hearing or not, something that you're not hearing, you're not seeing. Come, so back to 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 10. Now we're going to read about what we read in Daniel chapter 8 earlier, about what? a little one that came out of what? This goat with the horn representing the Greece and their rulership. It says, and there came out of them a wicked root, surnamed Epiphanes, right? Which, if we remember, Epiphanes, it means God manifest on earth, right? That's where that word comes from the Greek. So he surnamed him in this stuff as if he is the most high on earth. And that's not a uncommon thing for men to do in general, let alone Esau, right? Who oftentimes vaunt themselves in this way. Even in this time, they'll make statues and busts of themselves in different places, right? So people look at the statue and just be like, oh, wow, you know. Even during the Roman time, they said that there were two chief gods, because they had false gods too, that you always wanted to have in your house. One was a bust of what they called the, which just means the Great Mother, and you also had to have another bust of Caesar, right? To where it's like, oh yes, Caesar's in my house, or a representation of him is in my house, and you're not supposed to be a thing that motivates you every morning, you know. And it's just like, you know, these men like this have taken their rulership and they've taken it way out of proportion, forgetting about he who put them in power to begin with. And saying and doing all types of things, right? As we're going to read here in his example. So it says, a wicked root, Antiochus surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome. This is going into Antiochus the third. This one is Antiochus the fourth. When you do research, you can just go on, you know, Wikipedia or any encyclopedia. You can look up Antiochus the third and Antiochus the fourth and get their backstory if you want more details. It says, who had been a hostage at Rome and reigned in 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. So it's going into the time frame Alexander came into power from the time then to the time that they're in right now, because it's some time later afterwards, right? It says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. But since we had departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So check out these perverse talks, this perverse discussion coming out of our people's mouths, right? We got to link it with verse 11. Yahkanan's favorite. Jeremiah chapter 5, right? This is not what we want to be. So you had those who sell out now, as we call it, sellouts. Yeah, sellouts back then too. And remember, the selling out really just means you're sold to do mischief. You're sold because what makes you you, you keep yourself by keeping the commandments. If you break the commandments, you lose yourself. Like that song, right? So you don't want to lose yourself through wickedness. And you give yourself over to the flesh, over to physical things. Instead of you having those physical things, they now have you. So now, to link with 1 and 11, Jeremiah chapter 5. Jeremiah chapter 5. And we'll start from verse 26, and we'll read down to 29. Actually, you know what? Start from 25 and read down to 29. That'll be our whole section. And Yahkan, if you could read that, Baba Kushan.
Maccabees,
Verse 11.
verse 11.
5, 25 to 29. Nice and loud so folks on teleconference can hear.
Jeremiah 5.
Jeremiah chapter 5, verses 25 to 29.
Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 25. Have turned away these things, and your sins have withholden good things from you.
Right. So Jeremiah writing to the people from the Most High, right? Telling us your iniquities had turned away these things, and your sins have withholding good things from you, right? Because all we want is what? The pursuit of happiness, right? That's what they told us here in America. But now we want happiness, we want good things, but we choose evil, but expect good.
Verse 26. For among my people are found wicked men. They lay wait, snares. They set a trap. They catch men.
Right. So going into the things we used to do to each other, even still do to this day, but even back then, when we knew who we were, we still had nerve to do this, to abuse ourselves, to abuse each other when we had authority in the nation. On most sides, as we read throughout history, he said, "Oh, okay, you got to do to each other when you have." Okay, I'm gonna go over here. Now, so you best
so that we can bring him glory.
But in just we always drink it. Being taken.
Yes, is next. You know that go and what else? Leave for Africa. Where children
So, yeah, now, come back
No.
to what in and out.
Yeah. Now.
Absolutely. But I guess but
Yeah, it does the same thing on the mobile. Yeah.
actually go on. list a few different forms others, and it's something that matters. From
And so you know what you have to go through to get there.
That's just that topic alone is a class. Things to physical things, even spiritual things, as far as not trying to go from level 1 to level 10. Like that's a lesson of itself, which we don't have time for now. But there's many things we could bring out on that topic.
And another thing also we got to keep in mind, while it's good to work out and go to the gym, but most importantly, it says in Timothy, when we come here to class also, it's like we in the gym.
Absolutely.
But we in a spiritual building gym.
Right.
So we got to be mindful of that. Like everything that comes out, even if you heard it already, just stay focused. Maybe you have something to add on, to help somebody that's trying to build, his or her spirit. So it's important to stay alert, right? To stay alert, because this is exercising the spiritual mindset, so you can get, spiritual toughness or mental toughness.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even me, sometimes I gotta, try to stay up. Sometimes, if I have a long week. But when you go to the gym, even if you're tired, you still try to do something.
Right.
You just try to stay awake.
Yeah.
Right. So just trying to stay alert and trying to keep that going. Because if you don't see it that way, it's just like it's boring to come to service again. Especially when we come to the holy day. The holy day is more like a special, spiritual toughness type, as opposed to a regular, class.
Right.
Which is important, but the high holy day is more like a special treat.
Right.
Come.
First Timothy 4:8.
Gun.
With Timothy 4:8.
Gun.
Do you suppose that certain people do other things for attention versus case in point? They go to church. Some years ago, I used to go to someone Reverend Knight's church, and he would say because they want to show their new clothes off, or they enjoy the not just necessarily trying to praise and respect the glory. It's more like a fast. Every Easter, let me give some new fruit from the store. From the clothes from me. It's like a fashion show.
Mm-hmm.
So the clothes off. So that's, oh, you look so nice today, Michael.
Come.
I think,
And that's definitely other examples. And it's so sad because physically, there's nothing wrong with looking nice, dressing apart.
Mhm.
But if your inner clothes, your spiritual clothes don't match your physical clothes, what are you doing? Just like what we're talking about now, this metaphor. If your spiritual body isn't as in shape as your physical body, you eating well, you're doing your smoothies and all that, right? Getting your leafy greens and all that, but then spiritually you're feeding yourself idols.
Unbalanced.
Well, yeah, what good is that? So that's why, like I said, that's a class in of itself. But the concept is pretty simple as far as the same way you want to physically look nice and be in shape, you want to spiritually look nice and be in shape. That's the idea. And the scriptures give us the way to do that. It's through the commandments, and when properly applying them, you get the fruit of the Spirit. That's how we look nice spiritually. That's how we stay in shape spiritually. Come. Gabar?
Well, he somewhat answered my question by that verse that he just said. I was about to say the same thing. I don't know where it was, but he just showed me where it was.
Oh, the 1 Timothy 4:8?
Yes. Yeah, 4:8. So what they saying in that scripture, well, I'll read it then. All right. 1 Timothy 4:8. And it says, for bodily exercise profiteth little, but godliness is profitable unto all things, having promise of the life that now is and of that which is to come. Okay, so they're telling you right there that bodily exercise ain't nothing. Maybe it profits a little bit, but it ain't nothing compared to spiritual.
That's the way you said it the last time is a better way of framing it, because, and I think the brothers raised their hand for the same reason, possibly, is it's not to say that bodily exercise is worthless. Just like to say money is worthless or vanity. People read that, it's like, oh, they're saying that money it doesn't mean anything. No, money, your body, being in shape, eating well, these have their place. These have their glory. It's just when that glory is set above the spiritual glory, that's when, like he said, you're off balance, when things don't work out anymore. Right now, you die instead of truly living forever. Because when you live forever, the way to live forever is to what? Be in the spirit, which will then lead you to be physically dealing with the creation the right way, where you'll use and you can grow the creation. You'll truly be productive in all ways of the word, as opposed to destroying the creation, which is part of the creation. But that only comes to dealing with the commandments. On a teleconference, what was your comment? And then we have some comments in the audience. Does someone have a comment on a teleconference?
no.
Okay.
You touched on it already. I just wanted to say also the purpose of exercising, besides the byproduct of looking good. People exercise so they can enjoy health and live long, which is not even possible. You cannot live as longer than the Most High put in His plan. So that's, even to put that in mind, it's not even a good idea. It's pretty much whatever time the Most High put in the calendar, you want to live a quality, health-wise, life. In the scripture, when you read it, it says, for body exercise profitable little, but godliness is profitable unto all things, having promise of the life. So the key here is of the life. People trying to live a long life, a prosperous life, and they go out, work hard so they can, live long. But to really have a long life and enjoy life forever, we have to abide by the scriptures, the law, statutes, and commandments. that's what's gonna, promise us a forever life.
Right.
Everybody would like to live forever,
Mm.
but nobody knows how to really, live forever.
Right.
So as a result, they go to the gym so they can live a long life. But to really live forever is to pretty much abide by the law, statutes, and commandments and follow the Most High's laws and abide by what He said,
Right.
in His plan and His purpose for us.
Right.
As Israelites.
Come. Kabar.
I don't know what the other scripture is, but it has something to do with that one.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, well, which one of you by exercising cubic to your stature? Or something like that. Y'all familiar with that one?
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's in the scripture.
No,
By
in the
exercise-
gospel per se- in
the-
the gospel per se.
The last part, I remember, I'm not sure
Yeah,
how.
the last part.
I don't know if it was by exercising, but I think it had to do with, like, he was talking about faith, right?
I thought it was something.
You can move a mustard seed, the faith of a mustard seed.
No.
You can move a mountain. Then he mentions, like, who by faith can
talking about getting tall.
add one stature to his height.
Yeah.
I think it has something to do with faith.
Okay.
Can someone look up the verse, Baba Shah, as we read? As you read on?
I don't know. I didn't get that.
Right, so, right, let me see if I.
Because morning and in the evening,
Right.
7 days a week. you about Deuteronomy 10. And 16.
It says, circumcise the foreskin of your heart, showing you that what? Vision. Right? When the 8th day, to teach natural nature, they're making himself this. He like had you not learned, he would get on his discuss the force. I'm using LL. Messages how and had dominion of 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with great multitude, chariots and elephants and horsemen, a great navy, or your horse, your men on horseback, and a great navy. So using ships to even war by way of sea, because Greece was along the. It says, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt, right? So that's his brother on the other side who rules down there in Egypt, right? Because where he's at, he's up there around Syria. And not other way as well. You look at where Syria is, you look at where Egypt is. It says but tell many were wounded to death. So now for this time over, let's see if how long it'll last, if it does. And after that, Antiochus has been Egypt, the Muslim with a great multitude. So now go back to what we read in the beginning, Daniel chapter 8, vision he saw about the little horn that would come up out of this rough he-goat. It said he shall go towards the east and towards the south, and it says, and toward the pleasant land, right? So now he's going against the pleasant land, which is talking about what? Israel, right? Jerusalem. So it was a prophecy in Daniel's vision. Now it's history to the brothers that write in the Maccabees. This is something that already happened at this point. So it says, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, 21, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof. Same thing we read in Daniel, right? Going in there and causing the daily sacrifice to cease. Right? We read this vision. Now it's happening. Verse 22, and a table of the showbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crowns, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple. Off, right? So this is a bold move to go in here and go into the Most High's temple, where even all Israel wasn't supposed to go in there. Only the sons of Aaron go in there, right? Even behind the veil, only the high priest go in there once a year. Otherwise, he'd be put to death.
He only can go once a year.
So that's amongst Israel and within families within Israel. But now this heathen's going to come in and just go all up in there and take the stuff, right? So remember, this is also part of that vision that Daniel had as well. It says, he took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. He also took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. So he killed our people along the way to go there. And it says he spoke very proudly about it after he did it. Just as the prophecy said as well, how he would be lifted up in his heart, right? Like, yeah, I did this, I took this, I killed them, quote unquote, God's people, God's chosen. And here I am, right? Smart.
Can I link this with 2 Maccabees, the 5th chapter?
Which verse?
And from 21 to 24. It's the same thing.
2 Maccabees.
2 Maccabees, the 5th chapter, and the 15th to the 19th verse.
Second Maccabees.
So this is 2 Maccabees 5:15. It says, yet was he not content with this, but presumed to go into the most holy temple of all the world. Scripture, I think the next chapter, in 1 Maccabees, the 2nd chapter, is going to make reference to our temple being the most holy temple, the most prestigious temple in the world, right? So it says, Menelaus, that traitor to the law. So this is another Israelite, like we're reading how you had certain Israelites who made themselves confederacy with the Greeks, and their whole customs of now changing the every landscape that we had before time knew. Now they're siding with the Greeks. So this is one of those individuals.
Okay.
It says, Menelaus, that traitor to the laws and to his own country, being his guide, and taking the holy vessels with polluted hands. So like Kahan just mentioned, you had these heathen who came in there, which all Israel wasn't supposed to do. So here was the defiled, polluted heathen that came into the temple to go and ransack. It says, and with profane hands pulling down the things that were dedicated by other kings to the augmentation and glory and honor of the place, he gave them away. He was Antiochus in mind, that he considered not that the Lord was angry for a while for the sins of them in the city, and therefore his eye was not upon the place. Because you read it in the scriptures, it says that the Most High's eyes is going to be on his holy land, on Jerusalem. Right. Verse 18. For had they had not been formerly wrapped in many sins, this man, as soon as he had come, had forthwith been scourged and put back from his presumption, as Heliodorus was, whom Seleucus the king sent to view the treasury. So Antiochus and his men, when they came in with Menelaus, they would have all been stopped by the Most High. And it gives you an example of another individual, Heliodorus, to view or spy the treasury. The Most High prevented them. But in this case, he did not prevent them because of the sins of Israel. But in his pride, Antiochus and them in their pride, they thought that they just had the whole power, like it was all them. Where it was that the Most High was allowing them to do these things and against Israel because of the sins of the people. Right? Verse 19, it says, nevertheless, Yahweh did not choose the people for the place's sake, but the place for the people's sake. Right? So it was not that the land was that holier than the people, or the temple was that holier than the people, but because the people had sinned, allowed it to be taken over. He allowed the temple to be defiled and destroyed because of the reflection on the state of our people. But others won't see it that way. They'll see it in their pride, is that their might and that their glory is all for them. They all acquired it for themselves, and not that the Most High himself had allowed it.
Okay. Duarte, so you stopped in.
I stopped at 19.
Duarte. The scripture in Psalms, right, where it says, he reproved kings for their sakes, saying, touch not mine anointed, cause my prophets no harm. And it shows you how the Most High is just totally dealing with us, to where while he allowed them to come in power to take over us, it's still a judgment upon them to lay hands on us, all at the same time. Even when we're wrong, and the Most High uses them because of our wrong, they're wrong for laying hands on us.
Yeah, they went in that squad, didn't they?
What's that?
They went in a big squad, didn't they?
What did the scripture say? Was he by himself?
No, I don't believe it by itself.
Okay. So back in First Maccabees chapter 1, it says, 23, he took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels, and he took the hidden treasures which he found. When he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. Therefore there was great mourning in Israel in every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Right? So the people of the nation were clearly affected by this clear raping of our people, right? And just coming on in and doing whatever they want. This molestation of the land and of the people, right? It says every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. So now even, marriage being a joyous time, people come together, right? Together. Even they were more to the temple and to all the people that were in his path. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector tribute unto the cities of Judah who came into Jerusalem with a great multitude. So here we see specifically, it's telling you that he came deep, as you were asking, Batham. And check this out. Just like we read in Daniel chapter 8, verse 30. And spake peaceable words unto them. Remember, he says he craft a prosper in his hand. Spake peaceable words unto them, but always deceit. For when they had given him credence upon the city and smote it very sore, people of Israel. Right. So he came with deception. He said, "Oh yeah, everything's fine. Let's sit down." Right. Not even on some, yeah, sorry about what I did, last time. So I'm just gonna come in and just start off as if everything's fine. And to this day, they do this with each other and with other nations, and the nations look at them sideways, right? With these UN summits, these different meetings, like, "Hey, come be like this," and don't they know what your troops had just did to us, like last week, this week, everything's fine. Like, are you in your own little fantasy world, right? See your hands. Let me 1 second, brother. Let me just get this. And I mentioned Daniel 8. Folks who didn't hear us read it before, I'll just read one verse out of that. This is Daniel chapter 8. I'll read 23 down to 25. Just going into this same Antiochus and what he's doing. We read the whole chapter 8, which connects with this history. I just want to read this specifically for what we're reading right here in verse 30. So let's see here. So this is, and don't forget, everyone, don't forget your comment. Daniel chapter 8, 23, it says, this is the angel giving Daniel the understanding of the vision. And in a latter time, Daniel chapter 8 and verse 23. I'm going to read down to 25. Daniel chapter 8, verse 23. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. His power shall be mighty, but not by his own. Like you were saying earlier, Samak, right? As far as him thinking, them being lifted up, thinking, yeah, we're doing this. We're going up in the temple doing our thing, taking stuff from them. But no, the Most High, he's the one who controls good and evil, right? Even with spiritual Satan, he knows. For that is delivered unto me. Whomsoever I will, I give it. Even Satan acknowledging, spiritual Satan acknowledging that for any empire that rules in wickedness, he riches and wealth to, even he gets that power from what? Someone higher than him. That's why he says, for that is delivered unto me. He didn't take it on his own. That's huge. It's a big stumbling block in our churches. Reading on. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy wonderfully. Like, it's going to be amazing how he's going to destroy. And shall prosper in practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. Like we just read in Israel. And through his policy shall he cause craft to prosper in his hand. And she shall magnify himself in his heart, like we read, him being lifted up. And by peace shall destroy many. See that? Peace, peace. This is the first time we read it, but as you read on the Maccabees, we're going to see this be used more than once. It says, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Right? It's him going against the higher principalities and powers in the heavenly realm, right? We'll come back to this verse later on in Maccabees, but we'll see that happen.
No, that hasn't happened yet.
Right. That's going to come a little bit later in the history as we go through Maccabees.
Let me ask one question. Understanding dark sentences, what's that?
The way I understand that is just he's going to have, what do you call it? Certain power given unto him, certain authority. Because remember, the scriptures tell you in Proverbs, it's the glory for kings to search out a matter. It's the glory for the Lord to hide a matter. It's Proverbs 25. I'm wording it wrong. But it's going into him pretty much having a great seat of power or authority, right? And him knowing certain things. What's that?
Given to him by Satan?
Well, ultimately by the Most High, but
Right.
yeah.
Through Satan. Going back to First Maccabees, when they destroyed, when they came in there and took over.
Make sure you ask your question loud so the folks can.
Okay, going back to First Maccabees, when they went in there and they took over Israel for the second time,
Right.
by coming in there like they was peaceful, when it says the beauty of woman was changed, what was that?
Verse 26. Yeah, it's just anything that we would have been known for, like as far as, a woman, her adornment, as far as how she would, present herself. Same thing with the young men being known to be, vital, to have vitality, be strength. It's like their whole countenance just changed. Their whole spirit just came down to where they're not even motivated anymore to be who they are because such a horrible thing happened. So, clearly men and women and men aren't feeling like, it's kind of like their morale is pretty much just taken to where, women aren't dressed up like that anymore. Now they're probably wearing sackcloth, right? Mourning, right? It's just like with the men. Usually they're like, yeah, it's a good day in Israel today, how you doing, brother? After something like that happened, everyone in the street is going to be like,
You weren't proud.
Shalom, like Shalom. Like you're not even going to give the real Shalom to your brother and sister because it's not peace, it's war, right? So everybody was like brought down low, ultimately in their spirit, and then that exhibited itself through how they carried themselves.
Another reason you walk around looking busted.
Yeah, there you go. You can say that. I'm sure it was part of it, right? Because it's like, why should I even dress up? Because of this horrible thing that's going on. Like I said, Israel as a whole, we will always rock the sackcloth. We will rock the sackcloth, and that would be like us pretty much showing physically how spiritually, how discomforted we felt. Right? Because sackcloth is not smooth garment. It's not like silk, it's like, ooh, it feels so nice. Sackcloth is rough on your skin. So we'll wear sackcloth, right? And, not adorn ourselves like that just to show the discomfort that we have in the spirit before the Most High, right? When we're faced with something serious like this.
Kind of like when you read of Judith and she wore the garments of her widowhood.
Right.
But when she went out to go and deal with the heathen, she adorned herself, with good clothing, the jewels, and everything else. So imagine the whole city is adorned in sackcloth, but they're not wearing those clothes because of what was going on. So yeah, the beauty of Israel changed like that. Like you said, once the war started coming in and they started to push their vibration, and you had traitors within Israel and those who was solid that had solidarity to the laws and the Most High, it changed the whole landscape.
She was a rich woman when her husband started wrapping down.
Yeah. So it's like the same thing you read in Lamentation, I think the 4th chapter, the whole book of Lamentation actually, when you went through Babylonian captivity.
Yeah. Let's get one verse since you mentioned that to link with verse 26. Good idea. So to link with 1 and 26, this is going to a pastime, but same situation. This time we're getting our behinds handed to us by the Babylonians. Yeah. Now the daughter of Babylon following suit during this time with the Greeks. Lamentation, I think it's chapter 4 and verse 1, but don't write it down yet. Let me just make sure. Since I wasn't even. 1 second. Is it that one? Yeah, Lamentations 4, 1 and 2. You could read that, Gabar Baba Krishan.
What chapter in Lamentations?
Chapter 4, verses 1 and 2. Actually, now I'm looking at it. I think one that'll, well, you know, we could do both. Now I'm looking at it. Hey, every chapter is like good. There's a couple links you could link with this, but for the sake of time, we'll just get Lamentations chapter 4, verse 1 and 2, and then we'll also read Lamentations chapter 2, verse 1 and 2. Let's read those two, and then we'll continue. Just make a note to check out Lamentations as a whole.
Like a whole chapter.
The whole book.
Oh, yeah.
Like we always joke about. Say, yeah, Job 9:24 is good, brother. Job chapter 9 is good, brother. Book of Job is good, brother. The Bible is good, brother. So you keep going out like the whole thing is good. But before we're talking about, let's just read Lamentations 4, 1 and 2 and Lamentations 2, 1 and 2. So you can read that, Gabar, what you have it?
Right. Is that Lamentations 4, 1 and 2?
Yeah.
It's right after Ezekiel. It's right after Ezekiel.
Limitations. Yeah.
Right after Jeremiah.
Yeah, right after Jeremiah. This is before Ezekiel.
Limitations,
That's right.
chapter 22. That's right.
All right, Lamentations chapter 4, verses 1 and 2. How is the gold become dim? How is the most fine gold changed? The stones of the sanctuary are poured out in the top of every street. The precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold. How are they esteemed as earthen pitchers, the work of the hands of the potter?
You see that? So going into the change that's happened to the people as a response to what? The other nations coming in and destroying the place. Destroying everything, all our stuff. Now it's like comparing them to that same fine gold is being stolen, right? So we're supposed to be more precious than the gold. Now we're like earthen pitchers, or like the works of the hands of a potter. So you take a precious vessel made of gold and silver. Now take a vessel that's made of like clay or something, or earth, dust. Not as valuable, right? So that's how we looked at it now at this time, because of this lowest state we've been brought to. Now, Lamentations 2. So it's, you know, it's very poetic, you know.
Yeah.
But painful at the same time. Hence the name Lamentations. So you can read the Lamentations 2, 1 and 2 now.
Oh, Lamentations 2, 1 and 2?
Read that now with this, yeah. Baba Kushar.
Lamentations 2, 1 and 2. Covered the daughter of Zion with a cloud in his anger, and cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel, and remembered not his footstool in the day of his anger.
You see that? So now we read about the men. Now we have the women now. Covered with a cloud in his anger, right? We see when it gets cloudy out, it's like, oh, you're down in the dumps, right? Oh, it's a cloudy day. But now he's covered us with a cloud and cast down from heaven unto the earth. So being in a position of authority, now being brought down low, right? From rulership now down into captivity. The beauty of Israel, and they're remembering not his footstool in the day of his anger, right? Because the heaven is his throne, the earth is his footstool, right? Now it's like, yeah, I just leave them to it, lead them to destruction there, instead of having that hedge about us. Check out verse 2.
It says, the Lord has swallowed up all the habitations of Jacob, and has not pitied. He has thrown down in his wrath the strongholds of the daughters of Judah. He has brought them down to the ground. He has polluted the kingdom and the princes thereof.
Right. So same thing we're talking about before, it about heaven being brought down to the earth. Now we see the context. Heaven there is going into us being in our authority, being on high. Now we're being brought down to the earth, being brought down low. You see? And 2, it says it more specifically. So yeah, you read the whole Lamentations, but those two I think can echo what we're experiencing in Maccabees. So let's go back to First Maccabees chapter 1. Let's continue on about them using peace. We read the scripture in Daniel to show that, right? So reading on, it says, and I read 30 again, and spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel. So along with what we read in Daniel 8, 23 to 25, you can also link Psalms 55. Psalms 55 verses 20 and 21. Which I'll read this one. Psalms 55 verses 20 and 21. Which other nations can do, but we know with Esau, they're known for this kind of tactic. 5 verse 20 and 21. And it reads, Psalms 55 and verse 20. He had put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He had broken his covenant. Right? It says in 21, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. You see, so he'll use his words to his advantage, but not to push righteousness and truth, but to push deception, right? To try to put on a facade, right? To lower your defenses. And once you do, he goes in for the kill, right? So be mindful of that. We see it happening here. So as you deal with these different nations today, we have to read about them here because they're the same people, just in this time. So we can predict their behavior now because it's like, oh, we already know what to expect when it comes to dealing with Elam or dealing with Esau or dealing with Ishmael, dealing with whoever. We can read about them in the past because they are their forefathers. What's that, brother?
That's why I wanted to see going through it earlier. I'll make it quick. That's the same thing Gad said to them. They said they lied with 12 tongues. They couldn't repeat, but they had war in their hand. This was the tribe of Gad. They broke over 600 peace treaties. They never honored not one of them. And then we happened in South Dakota when they want to build that oil land through the tribe of Gad water and through the burial ground.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what that Standing Rock protest is all about. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still doing that today as it did in the past.
Goes back to value systems, right? What you truly value. You value money and wealth and supply chain, or do you value the lives of your ancestors and their burial ground?
And Trump, he signed off on that, or Trump. He signed off on that too for him to do that.
They wouldn't bury a pipeline if there was a graveyard for their great followings, right?
And if we don't know the wisdom of the scriptures, it's gonna be very difficult to understand and deal with them on that level, especially when you're dealing with them up close and they do you favors, quote-unquote favors. You might think that they love you and they working with you, but really they're helping you to their benefit.
Absolutely.
And if you're not mindful of that, you might think, man, the scripture says John 3:16. John 3:16 might be for everybody. Look at how this guy is, and he's a nation. So you become confused unless you understand the scriptures.
Come. That's what we have today in modern day Babylon, right? Our kids growing up with the heathen, in many cases. Sometimes we might be doing a little bit better for ourselves carnally. We grow up with strangers, go to middle school, high school with them, maybe even go to private school with them, college with them. Once you get out in the professional workforce, you see what? Less of your people in HR, less of your people as loan officers for banks. They're getting yeses and yeses all around around the board. You get some yeses, but a lot of no's. You don't have family or friends in the same arena. You might be one or two within your family in that industry. Now it's like you find yourself very lonely, right? or looking for someone you can really talk to, but don't really have anybody you can talk to in that rarefied atmosphere. Now you see, man, now things are kind of different now. You might still have those friends, you guys still might talk, but they got to do for their family, you know, and rely on their connections. You know, you have, you know, fewer connections to rely on when it comes to you know, being at that point, you know, in your life. So that's where the reality comes knocking back down, where you say, oh, yeah, things really aren't the same. Even they keep trying to tell us that, oh yeah, things are the same, things are the same, things are the same. But like we always talk about, you know, in the scriptures, and even you hear our people in the world that are waking up to, you know, certain levels of truth, especially when it comes to collective economics. We know without the scriptures, it won't matter much, but this whole thing of ownership and inheritance and how important that is to really, when you bring that into the discussion, you'll see that things aren't the same with everybody. Even though you might have people in positions of authority, as far as those who not necessarily exercise power, but who possess power, the disparity is still there. It might even be there even more than what it was. And until we have that conversation, it's not going to be, you know, even Stevens as they try to push.
And in another way also, you kind of understand where they're coming from, how they deal, because they also, you know, operate based on fear. Because how they got there is through lies and deception. And they're afraid of losing what they have, and to maintain what they have to continually, you know, keep, you know, lying and deceiving.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know, this is what the Gentiles seek, right? They seek after these things, afraid of losing these things. To the point where even sometimes when you're dealing with our own people in a world that's dealing with them, you also have to watch out for your own people that you're dealing with, because they so confined in them because they don't know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you say something to try to steer them into not trusting these people into what they're telling you, or to watch out how you deal with them, you almost feel like, man, this guy, you might turn around and tell this guy about me. You know, and they might look at you now and start watching you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's become difficult when you try to, you know, go on the world's path and try to deal with your own people.
Right.
Because they blind, they don't know the scriptures, and they feel like these people up.
Come. Smart.
I would say this is partly the gift of social media and the internet, because prior to the last 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that vibration of what we was going through was not shown or given to the new generation. It was hidden. It was just stories, or it was just something that was in a pocket. Now, i.e. the Black Lives Matter movement through social media, being able to expose a lot of the kids getting shot down or innocent people being shot down, they can see it. So now, even with social media, I know, Kahan, you've done it where you see a video and then you'll read the comments. These are comments that's from all over the world. Right. And then you'll see certain comments where someone will say, yeah, kind of niggas is acting. All right, niggas' life wasn't matter. You're like, what? And then you'll see others make comment on that. Mm-hmm. So they see that behind the laptop or the phone of how people feel. Right in front of your face, they won't say those things most of the time.
Yeah.
But now, like you said, internet, like they'll put it out on social media, express exactly how they feel about certain situations. Mm-hmm. So the younger youth are now being made aware of not only the social injustice and violence, but also how America or how certain people across the world feel. Mm-hmm. So we touched on this last week in 2 Thessalonians, where it talks about that the man of perdition or the son of perdition must be revealed, and he had to be revealed in his time. So now we're starting to see that man be revealed, and everybody realizes it. Now that's why you got the slogan white privilege. Everybody understands what white privilege means, right? Because they don't have to be subject, or they don't have to care about any of the injustices that we go through or what the other nations go through. They don't have to care about what the Iranians go through. They don't care about when they bomb them and what happens to their family, because they have that privilege being the ruling power. Mm-hmm. Well, all nations now are beginning to see that, outside of Esau, is beginning to see what they do and how they feel and how they operate. They don't care. Right. So this vibration now is the Most High beginning to different nation into a realm where they're going to come together to have that third world war, for them to make certain alliances. And even like you mentioned earlier, Esau likes to fight amongst Esau. So it's going to be even certain factions or groups or pockets within them are going to turn on themselves because of this greed, because of this selflessness, because of this, insatiability of wanting to always have and get. It's going to come and expose itself. So even like sometimes I check social media and I see like the top trending thing is written in Arabic. I want to know what they're talking about because that's the top thing. And I don't know Arabic, but I know that they're probably pushing out or exposing certain things in their language or in their culture of what's going on, right? So this time is very crucial, or it is crucial in the sense that awareness is coming out across the board, even with just us. Our awareness is coming out. We see Israelites in movies. I forget that movie that they have brothers at camp in the movie.
The action movie, right?
Yeah, I forget something 666, something like that, whatever that was. But you see the camp of Israelites with the signs, the garments, everything, teaching in the movie. Right now it's in music. Now Kendrick and them. So it's now the time of awareness where you cannot say, oh, I didn't hear it, or I didn't know, or this was new to me. No, it's right there in front of your face. It's just that for those who don't see it, the blindness is there. But it's been shown to you, so you have no excuse.
And also the dynamic how Sabbath is bringing out about Esau. Esau, when he gets to the breaking point, he will show his emotion.
Yeah.
He will not show it forefront. But when he feels like he's down and out, and he feels like he's in a comfortable place, right, to put it out, he'll put it out. Yeah. But dealing with Moab, it's a different ballgame. Moab don't show you his emotion. He doesn't put his out there. He's more reserved. They don't like you, right? And they will pretend like they like you to the fullest, and they will, even when they show you they don't like you, it's through subliminal, things that they do, and you will figure it out. But out in the, they reserve, they express themselves among themselves about how they feel about you, but they will out there, right? And sometimes you may feel like, man, this guy, they really looking out for me, because it's gonna put them in the next level.
Come.
I wouldn't even just say it's Moab, it's all the nations. I remember I told that story that we had that time when we was coming, I forget where we were, because we used to travel, do a lot of road camps. We was coming back and we stopped at a gas station, and Ishmael asked us who we were, where we was from. And we was like, Jersey. He's like, nah, where you guys from? And we was like, oh, we from Israel, we're the Jews. And then he gave us his look and then just walked away. He didn't want to talk no more. Second time we was at a restaurant up in Jersey, in Newark somewhere, and Ishmael, it was an Ishmaelite spot. And when he asked us the same thing, and we told him that we was Israelites, we was the Jews. And he's like, why the rest of your people don't know this? Why the rest of your people don't act and carry on like you do? That's the problem. We was like, whoa, right? Because he was getting on us as a people for not realizing or understanding our history. Now, that was to say he knew, answered it the correct way, he acknowledged it, but then was like, well, where the rest of your people at? Right. Why y'all not there? But now they don't come out and, champion the cause and say, yeah, those same black people you're killing, they're the real Jews. They don't do that. The correct way.
Whoever's online, do star 6 to mute your line, Baba Kushai.
But now they don't come out and
I can't log on to free conference call. Do star 6, Baba Kushai. We're hearing the echo on your feedback. Thank you. Good.
Right. So it's all of the nations, because everyone has self-preservation. At some point, like we mentioned last week, everybody wants to rule the world. You can't say that Moab don't want to be at top, or that Ammon don't want to be at top, or that Ishmael or Ham or Jack. Everybody would love to be at that top spot. Right. But now, if it means me keeping you in the dark to get there, of course that's what they're going to do. That's the beauty of the truth. We don't keep nothing hidden. There's nothing that we got to keep so far back. Okay, we're not going to tell them this piece here. No, we read it and tell you. Yeah, you ruling right now. You rule here. But it's not going to affect or change the scope that the Most High sets up for who's next in line. Right. But they will, they won't tell us everything. They'll keep that hidden. They'll know it, but they won't say it.
And it's like with my experience, like dealing with them, like Moab, I remember I had an encounter where a Simeonite stood up to one of them, like really just give it to him. All in all, he was like just calm and collected. He's still pretending like he's buddy with him, even after the standoff. But little to know, he's bringing him down, and he doesn't even know how he's bringing him down. So you see that he's not rising up in the ring, but he's the one, answered, but you cannot see it. You cannot understand how he's doing it, but he's still buddy with him.
Right.
Ishmael, my experience dealing with Ishmael will kill you even if it means, spare his own life. Because I used to
everybody's playing their part.
So I used to go deal with this Ishmaelite, and all of us used to be in the car, a bunch of Israelites, but he's the one driving. The way this guy would be driving like a maniac. I'm like, man, you'll slow down. He's in the car, he's driving, he doesn't even care. So he doesn't even care for his own life, let alone us that's in the car with him.
Ishmael crazy, huh?
Say that as far as he talks about Moab, because when we read in what book is that in Apocrypha, Moab,
Judah,
and Moab understood the science behind how to deal with.
I think it was Ammon, right?
Yeah, Ammon. Yeah. They understood the science about how to deal with it. But this plays into a little bit like you mentioned their character. So Ishmael, he's a wild man by nature, right? And I don't want to go too far deep into it. Third story is when we was in North, went to the chicken shack, and one of the brothers, not in the troop, Jake, went in there and got on Ishmael because of the timeliness of getting to the food. And Ishmael was just like, all right. And then he started getting on him about Islam. Ishmael went the hell off up in that spot. Listen, he went the hell off. And it was a whole bunch of Jake. It was just two of them in that chicken thing working. And he called him out. Listen, I get off at this time. Meet me here. I don't care who you bring. He was ready to go war. And we were standing there looking at this like like everybody in there was like, yo, hold on. It's like, it's just him by himself. And the other guy, he was calm. But that one, he was ready to cause jihad or whatever right there in that spot.
Holy war.
And it shut that brother down. Shut him down, called him out. Ishmael is wild by nature. They don't give a damn. If they got to go out blazing right there, they're going to go out blazing.
Yeah.
Don't care how it affects them or anyone around them.
On the Moab tip, something I see with them, generally speaking, is to kind of touch on your experience, is like they're big on the long game. Yeah. Like Sun Tzu's Art of War, he says it best. It's like the whole idea is to not to lift one gun at all. If you can take over a country or a city without even having to go to war, that's the excellency of battle. And always have your intentions concealed until the very end. When it's totally too late, there's nothing the person can do. You're already in there. And look at how they operate here in America. Chinatowns everywhere.
Right. They
just here, just doing business. But to them, it's a long game. They're big on the long, continual game and just numbers. Get more of us here, have us build our thing up, and then utilize everybody else the best we can to maximize profit. That's why, it's fine.
They get you
no
frustrated
problem.
And they get you frustrated.
It's cool, because they know it's all about the end game.
Right.
They'll be friends with you for now, that you said they can benefit.
They do that on a global scale. China is pretty much friends with everybody. They sell and trade with everybody.
Because you're looking at it, it's like that. They're buddy with Trump, and also buddy with North Korea. And you look at North Korea, and then like they're trade partners for quite some time. They've helped each other out during famines and stuff. So it's like, don't just expect China to be like cut North Korea off. That's unrealistic.
Right. It's like how many wars China has had in the past, past years that we have. China has not had fought one war, right? The reason is they know wars will set you back. And that's how they rise up as the second largest economy.
They got one of the largest manpower soldiers in the world.
Right. But they haven't fought any.
They show on TV.
But they know that you got to maintain to show them you're not a pushover, even though you don't go to war.
Right.
But the key is you keep rising up your economy, and while you're not going to war.
Whatever they doing.
Come. So yeah, if we to quote Sabbath, we got next, right? Pre-Sabbath. But if it weren't for the truth, weren't for the Most High's will, people in the world that don't know about what's coming for us, they might look at Moab and be like, "Damn, we gotta learn Chinese because they got next."
But they got everything.
Slow game and build themselves up steadily, and they're like the main, not the only ones, but like they're the main country that's actually producing. Right? They're not just a market to buy products like America's become mostly. So when you have that, just like America was a producing country at one point, during and post slavery before World War One, that's the position they're in right now. So, and they're like one of the only few countries that actually have a trade surplus. Most countries have a trade deficit, not them.
Yeah, and not to go too long, I've experienced how they frustrate Jake, and Jake just quit in business. Frustrate you quit. The thing is, they're not gonna tell you to quit. They're gonna do things and where you get fed up with it and you get frustrated and you quit, and you cannot blame them because they deal with you, because they play longevity game.
Right.
They know you have you short of patience.
Sun Tzu again, right? It's the same stuff he talked about. We see it in the scriptures already, but I'm speaking from their standpoint. The whole thing is to confuse the enemy. Make them think you're about A when you're really about B, and then keep going back and forth. Direct, indirect, keep them confused until you get what you want. Okay. Thwada. So let's continue on, because I think verse 30 definitely hits a vital nerve when you think about, you know what, this is happening to us as a nation. But I remember when they did that to me. This one Edomite did this to me. He said everything was cool, everything was fine. Then he went flip mode on me and did something else. The hell with that so and so. True. We probably have some experience, personal experience we can relate to on this one. But the point is, you got to know who you're dealing with. That's what's key. 31. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire. Another corn card, right? For them. And pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took their captive and possessed the cattle. So they destroyed all the property, but then took the women and children as hostages.
Like the cattle?
Right, because with the cattle, you can get stuff for that too. So they're always thinking about the opportunity they can get, right? As far as that they can utilize the women and the children, which, defense now that it's just them, if the men are taken out of the picture, it's harder for them to defend themselves. And of course, your cattle, which can provide many things, food, clothing, other things you can get from livestock. But yeah, this is why it's so key for us to read the scriptures and always to keep it simple, especially when it comes to nationality. That being one of our milk topics, but we could probably spend each camp just having nationality as our basis of discussion, and it'll cover so much, right? To where this is why we read the scriptures, because we want to know who we're dealing with. We ourselves, to a certain extent, we even find out more about ourselves by reading the scriptures, but we definitely get a deep dive into the other nations, what their motivation is. But really, all in all, it's just temptation. It's just the parable of the sower and the seed in the end. They all have succumbed to that, right? They've all succumbed to one of those types of seed. And our people have succumbed to one of those types of seed, or more than one of those types of seed as well. That's really what it all really comes back to. And that's our greatest strength, is our spiritual power right now, to show forth what it means to have your soul. Because for all these different nations that have their different calling cards and their strengths, right? That one weakness that they share is temptation. They can't overcome Satan, right? They don't have their soul. That's the thing we have up on them, right? And when we can see that and expose it and use it to our advantage, that's when, like the scriptures say, we can, what's the word? It says, wisdom and knowledge will be the stability of our times. That's how we maintain our stability, because when it comes to their personality, when it comes to how they handle temptation or don't handle it, we can use that to our advantage. But you can't, deal with others if you can't deal with yourself. You can't have a handle on yourself. So that's where the wisdom of the scriptures come in, and us applying it That's learning the best ways to use it for ourselves and to show others. That's where that becomes so invaluable, really, to our success. And we have to do it. We're at the half point now. We're at 112. So what we'll do is take a brief recess. We'll pick up around what? 142. Or we could just maybe say a quarter of, since we're 2 minutes away from 115. We'll pick up a quarter of, and then what we'll do is we'll read the rest of the service. So we'll take a break here. Definitely stretch your legs, get something to eat. Doesn't require heat. And we'll talk to you all in a half hour. So Shalom, we'll talk to you.
You stopped at 32, right, Nabian?
4 verses total. So I stopped at the halfway point.
Yeah, they took the woman to choose. They take the woman to be the concubine. So,
Come, Dad. Even probably put them to work, put the kids to work too. Abusing them, you know. I don't want to go down the list, brother.
yep. You saw it on Roots Part 1, 2, 3, and 4. How they take the man and the little boy I said was part 3 or 4. And the father said, "Leave him alone. I can't do nothing." So when the father did say something to him, he stopped the father dead right in front of his son. His son was been like 9 or 10 years old. So he did something and told him, "Hey man, you gonna wipe alone." He shot him right there. He told his son, "How you like that?" and walked off.
Yeah.
You know, and then I got people. You have 50 people. Man, you know, my heart is hard with these people. I had no love for them. I don't care what nobody say. My family, you love them all you want to. You know, I believe it's too much. So I people for me, somebody I love them.
Kind of, when we know knowing the truth, look at how they hate themselves by the things they do to each other.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, they fight among themselves. Look at the show called Snap or Forensic Files. They bought money stuff 24/7, but they just don't want to show it. They show it on the show to get paid for money because their whole greed is money. You look at Forensic File, all you see is these show on there. Show each other for money and wealth. Show each other and look at Snap. How the women show them and set them up and poison them for insurance money.
Come. So with that, we'll see Shalom. We'll see you in a half hour.
Shalom.
Water for the input.
Hey, before